Hello everyone, Beastie here. I'm back with another series. Today we're doing something different. We're doing a series 2 Grandmaster, but I will not be playing. I picked a player that is Master 1 right now, and we'll be coaching him to Grandmaster. So every coaching lesson that we're going to have, I'm going to do it either live on stream or it's going to be recorded, and it's going to be uploaded on my YouTube channel. We're most likely going to do lessons every 3 to 5 days, I would say, and kind of keep you guys updated before we start each time. I'm going to check his rank, check, you know, if the win rate improved, what's going on, and so on and so forth. So the goal is to get him to Grandmaster. Now, his current rank is Master 1, 4.9k MMR, so that's where we're starting. That's our starting point. Hello, Hydra. How are you doing?
Hello.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from? How old are you? And so on.
I'm 16 years old. I'm Hydra. I've been playing since I was like 9 years old.
Damn.
Recently got into StarCraft 2 when it got free to play, so I started to focus a little bit more on 1v1.
Nice.
And now I'm Master 1, but I keep like losing and stuck at 4.95k.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, we'll see what we can do. So I'm checking your career summary right now. So you can see he has been Master 2 for about 6 seasons, 5 seasons, and then Master 1 in the current season. Been Diamond before that. This is his race report. And again, these are all the things that we're going to be working on. I didn't want to start the lesson with PvP, so we're going to start with PvT, which is his best matchup. I mean, which Protoss doesn't have PvT as their best matchup? So we're going to start with that, see what he can improve, and then in about, like I said, 3 to 5 days, we're going to do another one. Okay, let's get into it. In general, what is your playstyle? Do you play all-ins? Do you do timings, like 2-3 base timings? Do you just go long-ass macro games?
I like to do long-ass macro games.
Okay.
It's really hard for me to scout what's coming my way. So like, if the Terran is macroing, if he's going for an expand, if he's like doing a 2-base all-in, it's really hard for me to keep track of that.
Okay, so you would say that's your biggest issue, right?
Yeah, just the all-ins and not scouting properly. Maybe a couple supply blocks and then yeah.
Okay, in all the matchups or just PvT?
Just PvT.
Okay. How do you play PvZ and PvP in general? Same thing?
Yeah, same thing. I don't really like cheeses or something, so I just macro up.
Okay, cool. So the first thing whenever I coach someone is I like to see like general direction of how they play and how they like to play. Like if someone is all-inning every game, I'm not gonna teach him now to, you know, reinvent 3-base play, unless they want to, of course. But I try to stick with what people usually have already for their own playstyle and just kind of build up on that. Okay, so PvT. Was that a gateway scout or a pylon or a gas scout?
Gateway.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. That is fine. One thing to tell you straight away, and also another thing to mention to people on Twitch or on YouTube, I will not be talking, you know, like he's beginner. Like I'm not going to be talking about how many, you know, workers you need in gas and so on and so forth. We're going to be talking, since he is Master 1, he knows a lot of the things, so we're going to skip a lot of the steps and just work on exactly what he needs to improve. So, first things first, be very careful when you wall off like this in PvT. If you don't want to wall off your Nexus on either side. The reason for fully wall, like you just did on this side. The reason for that is, if you do that and you get Hellion drop from the top side or Widowmine dropped, you're going to be stuck. Your probes are going to be stuck. And they're going to have to go like behind the gas on the left side, and it's going to make your probes kind of take longer to run away and also clump up more. So be very, very careful. The good positioning would have been if the pylon is in fine position, the gateway should be one space to the right so that you have that option to run away on that side if you need it.
Okay.
Because
so
this is... Yeah. Yeah.
It's misplaced a little bit.
Yeah. So this is, again, this is not what's losing you the games, but eventually every 100 games you're going to lose the game because of this. And it's
Yeah, it's
something
just
that,
a small detail.
yeah, it's very easy to fix. So never fully wall off like that. And also another thing against Terran, avoid placing buildings behind the mineral line. That's another mistake that I see a lot of people do. Eventually when Liberator comes, you're going to have a very hard time like actually getting to it, especially if you don't have Blink yet. So
Okay.
those are things to consider. Okay, so with the first probe, obviously you want to check if you're getting proxied. You want to check, okay, one small mistake. Make sure to check both gases. Darren has a lot of different cheeses that it can do. And I've faced games where I wasn't able to see his CC, but he made 2 gases and did like some weird proxy factory play, or even double proxy factor or something like that. So just confirm that it is only 1 gas. And of course, this game you saw that is CC on the natural, so you have nothing to worry about. But again, in general, try to check both gases and just see what's up. But with the first probe, you want to make sure that the CC is planted and try to stay as long as you can there to just confirm that.
Okay, so scouting is like a problem here again.
Okay, let's see.
Oh, that's hot. That's hot.
Let's see. Okay, searching for your probe. Getting the stalker. I'm guessing you go Blink Robo, right?
Yeah, I always do that. It's
Okay.
maybe risky a little bit.
Okay. So my opinion on this, why do you keep the probe here, by the way?
I have no idea.
Okay, so the only time where you want to keep your probe across the map like this, in my opinion, is if you either want to get a follow-up scout, like maybe you didn't see CC or something like that, so you want to get a follow-up scout, or if you're going for one of those zealot openings where you try to deny the CC, or at least like delay it. So you want to have your probe like hidden so you can kind of delay the Reaper from going across the map. But if you're doing an opener that you're doing right now, just send a probe straight home. Don't leave it around. It literally, there's nothing for it to do because you're not going to be aggressive with like a pylon and gateways. One probe might not seem like a lot, but in the long run, especially this early in the game, that probe is going to make a big difference.
Yeah, okay.
Another mistake.
Yeah, the second probe losing to the
Yeah. Always try to rally your probes to the main until your stalker is out. This is a mistake that I still do, by the way. So, yeah, I'm a potato. What can I say? But keep your probes rallied into your main until the stalker is out, and you can kind of go with the probes to the natural. Because, like I said, this is something I do as well, where I just lose probes very, very often.
Yeah, it's for nothing if you lose it.
Yeah. Okay. Chrono.
Yeah, I'll let him in here to scout, that's also his mistake. Like he gets a free scout on the Twilight.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the worst thing in the world, but you do obviously want to try and deny that. But sometimes, you mess up. It happens. Okay. Another reason why I don't want to keep your probe around like this, by the way, is because many Terrans go for barracks gas, and when they do barracks gas, it means they're always going to have a marine follow-up, so you're not going to be able to do much with that one probe.
Yeah, the scout is just denied if it stays too long, so it's better to send it on, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I like this poke-in with the Stalker. You just need to be a little bit careful and vary of
really
the...
risky versus Cyclone, which is coming right now, and a middle mine.
Okay. I like these kinds of pokes because you're forcing your opponent to multitask this early, and you can kind of force him to mess up the micro or macro or whatever. So as long as you don't run into the Widow Mine, which should be easy to avoid, and don't get locked on by Cyclone, this is something you can do every game, pretty much.
Yeah, that's sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Like sometimes there's a mine in place and I just lose the Stalker.
Yeah,
it's really bad.
Yeah, so for example, when you picked up that one Marine, that's a cue for you to go home. Like it's like I did some damage, let's go home.
Okay.
Because you didn't at this point. look at it this way. Cyclone takes 32 seconds to build. Tech Lab takes, I don't know, 17, I think, 19, I'm not sure. And the Widow Mine takes 21. So if there was a Widow Mine, it would have been out already. So by arriving with the Stalker at his base, his Widow Mine should be almost popping, already be out. So if you don't see Widow Mine, and then you start poking the Marines and there's still no Widow Mine, you should go back home because there's probably a Cyclone.
Okay.
So be careful of that because, I mean, you know, if it locks onto you, you're that's it.
Yeah, that's Rip Stalker.
Yeah, and there's some Terran builds that snowball super quick with the first medevac, so you can literally die after that. Okay, behind, let's see, you're going Robo.
Some mistakes I also make is like stopping pro production for like a second. And it's like in every matchup, I like forget to make probes, and then the Nexus isn't making probes for like a couple seconds every time.
Okay, one good way to learn how to improve that is the way I learned how to macro with Terran. So when you don't have anything to do, like let's say right now, you literally have nothing to do, you're just sitting in your base. So what you want to do is you want to scroll through your hotkeys. So what I mean by that is click 1, you know, reposition the stalkers or position them here or here, whatever. Then click 3 for Robo, check if it's queued, check how far away it's from finishing. Then click 4 for Warp Gate, maybe be like, do I want to warp in? And then click 5 and make sure the probes are in production. And basically every time in StarCraft you're not doing anything, just keep scrolling through your building and unit hotkeys to make sure that everything is running at the same time. That's one thing, like I said, I learned as Terran because you have a lot of different production facilities and you want to be able to, you know, produce at all times. So that's one way that, you know, you can try to improve your macro. As a Protoss, I guess the thing you can do is swap between Nexus and units all the time. Every time you're not doing something, that way it's kind of like a mini reminder to basically build probes.
Yeah, okay.
Let me see what else. Why do you have 2 gases on your natural? Do you go for Robobay or do you go for third now?
Yeah, I'll go for Robo and then Forge.
And then a third base?
Yeah, then the third. I'm not sure if that's the correct order.
Well, with that build, you should be able to hold 2 base. So there's 2 ways to play PvT. You can either stay on 2 base longer, or you can get a super fast third and then just start pumping out units. Both ways work. It depends what you prefer, and yeah, you should probably pick which one you want to go for. My personal favorite is the 3cc one. The reason for that is if it works out, you're just so far ahead, and Terran is, when you do the fast through Nexus, Terran is forced to attack you. Like at this point, he doesn't have a third, right? So if he sees your third Nexus, he has to choose right now, I'm going to all in or I'm going to get a third. If he gets a third, he's already behind because you have a third on the way. And if he all ins, then all you need to do is defend. So, yeah. You can get in a really weird situation if you play this way. And the reason for that is, let's say he went for third CC, right? Let's say he has a third base right now building here. There's no way for you to scout it. And because you would open like Robobay and Forge and whatever else, by the time you actually see the third CC is going to be too late. So you're going to be in the opposite position where you're forced to all in because if you make a third, it's too late. Does that make sense?
Yeah, okay, so I play like way too defensive, speaking.
Yeah, you're playing, yeah, pretty much. The thing is, it's kind of like if you go for third base, you're either equal if the Terran goes for triple CC, or you're ahead and then he has to all in you. But this way, you're either equal or you're behind. Because...
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So look at it that way. Unless you're 100% sure Terran is going to all in you, you can stay on 2 base for much, much longer. But if you're not sure what the Terran is doing, which, you know, if you're playing ladder, you're not going to know if he's going for third, then you should always go for third Nexus before, in my opinion. So the way you want to do it is pretty much the same thing that you did. Like, you know, get Twilight, constantly produce Stalkers, get Blink, 2 more gates, then you get a Robo, and you only get 1 gas on the natural. and only when you have 16 on minerals, that's when you put 3 extra probes into the gas. Or the next 3 probes, I guess, that come out, put into the gas, and then you make the third base.
Okay, so you go like 16 on the minerals, and then when you have 16 on the minerals, you pull 3 in the gas?
No,
But
the
not...
next 3 that are made, you put straight into the gas. So you want to
Okay.
have 16 on the minerals first, and then the other 3 probes that you make from then on out, you put them into the gas.
Are queued or rally to the gas.
Yeah, so
Okay.
you want to start the natural gas when saturation on natural is about 12 probes. So that kind of lines up almost perfectly. Like when the gas is finished, you're going to basically be fully saturated and you start mining gas, and yeah. The reason why you want to have 16 on minerals first, because this build is extremely kind of tight as far as the build order goes, and if you mess up, which you probably know, you're gonna die straight up. Like it won't even be close when the Terran pushes. But if you do everything right, you will have enough units to defend the 2 base all in. And you want to have as many minerals as possible so you can get the third faster and to do the extra 5 gates very quickly in order to defend it.
Okay.
Now, one thing that I have to test, by the way, is I was thinking about doing a little bit different variation of this build where I go Robo first into Twilight, but that's something I'll have to test and kind of get back at you, because if you get a super fast observer and you see exactly what he's doing, you can react much easier to it. So, but for now, do the build that I just mentioned, and then the 4th gas, you're either not going to get it ever if the Terran is 2 basing, or you're going to get it much later.
Yeah, much later. So that's like after you...
After third base is saturated fully.
Fully saturated. Okay.
Yeah.
Um, So you stay on 3 gases, like...
Yes.
Okay.
Now this is the thing. So you want to have about 8 to 10 stalkers with this. You don't want to have 6 to 10, I would say. You don't want to make like 15 stalkers. There's no point for that because you're going for a fast third. You're not going to be aggressive, so there's no point for you to waste gas into stalkers. Because you're on 3 gas, the gas is extremely important in where you're going to, put the gas and how you're going to spend it. So there are 2 options that you can go from this fast 3 Nexus build. You can either go for Colossus with 1 Forge, or you can go with Charge Lot Blink, which is probably something you've seen like every pro player do. Yeah. With like 1 or 2 Forges and just mass gateway units. That's what I personally hate playing when I play Terran against Protoss, because you can get overwhelmed super easily with Zealot's Blink. And then the Protoss can just add, the 3 extra gases that they're missing, and he can move into High Templar or Colossus or whatever they want to. The reason why I prefer, especially for you, because you're Master 1, so obviously it's not, low league, but it is lower than GM. And one thing that I've noticed is a lot of people under GM love tank pushes, and obviously charge lots are gonna roll through the siege tanks much easier than the Colossus would. So that's why I would suggest you to go with the 8 gate one. But again, I can teach you both. It's up to you.
Yeah, okay, I've never really tried Mass Salad Stalker with Double Forge, so I don't really know how to play it and how to react if the Terran does something.
Okay. Okay, I'll let you know when we get to it. Let's see what you're doing in this game. We're gonna quickly finish it.
Yeah, the first border order I always did, but probably really greedy, was Robo first, then with 3 observers like spotting at the edges of the bases so he can't drop you, and 1 here. And then just go quickly Colossus with a Forge and then a third, but I figured that wasn't the exact best build order, so I tried to before the warp gate shit and the quicker blink shit, I always just did some stalker pressure. instead of just like 6 stalkers now, I
Yeah.
would make like a lot and then try to poke.
I mean, yeah, you have 10 right now, which is fine. It's a good thing that you're being active with the stalkers, but see the reason why you don't do this build, or not do this build, but the reason why you don't do this build in this specific order. If you look at your resources right now, you might be like, "Oh, I'm spending resources. Everything's good." Your gateway count is you're going up to 5, right? So it's not 8, it's 5. It's like an awkward number. You have Colossus queued up. You got a little bit supply block. That's all fine. The problem is you have no sentries right now, and you need at least 3-4 sentries with Colossus playstyle. If you skip sentries, yeah, you will.
That's
like,
exactly what happens this game.
you will get walked over by Baya.
Okay.
Especially in the early game when you have like 1-2 Colossus and you have to protect them. When Terran sees one Colossus, he will jump on it. Like, he's just gonna stim and kill it if there's no sentries. So, because you're going for so many things at the same time, see, this is what a lot of protos make mistake of, and this is why this is coming back into kind of popularity a little bit, Colossus openings this early. But the reason why people went away from it is because it's so much teching at the same time. You need sentries, you need +1, you need charge, you need blink stalkers, you need Colossus range. And all those units are super kind of weak if they get overwhelmed. And if you make one mistake, the game is pretty much done.
Yeah, and that's exactly happens this game.
Yeah. So right now you can see, like, you should be having 3 more gateways going up. And if Terran was doing a push, your gateways should be, going up. And you have your sentries that are, having about 100 energy right now. So when the Terran pushes, you're already fully prepared to face him. But let's see.
Yeah, I just have like not enough energy for the sentries, and I make them way too late.
Let's see.
So I have 2 now with maybe 4 force fields, and like no buy or any zealots or stalkers.
Yeah.
It's way too late with the gateways and stuff.
Yep.
And he just I don't have any force fields.
Yeah, I mean. Yeah, finish.
To like force field this part, so I can buy time for my units.
Yeah. So, one thing, this is what I meant, the siege tank push. If you had zealots, this is much easier for you to engage into, but because you have Colossus based army, it's going to be really awkward for you to push in. This is one of those games where it's like, if the game goes on for another minute and he doesn't push, you win, right? You're going to have 3 Colossus, you're going to have +2, and you're just going to roll him over. But this is what a lot of protoss struggle with, which is these 2 base timings. And most of them don't know how to defend it, because it's so kind of... The difference between winning and losing here is so small. And once you figure that out with the charge lot stalker build, it will become much easier for you to defend this.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, at this point there's just not enough units.
Yeah, he has way more supply army.
Yeah.
And no force fields, not enough anyways. And he just goes for the Colossus.
Yeah. The problem is, like, at this point, because he has a 3rd base, right? Let's say you kill or defend this and he retreats with the medevacs. You're still going to lose the game. Doesn't matter if you actually defend, because you have no sentries, the stalker count is reset. Once the stalker count is reset with the Colossus builds, you're dead, because you need zealots to tank for them. So if you're forced at this point early in the game to warp in more stalkers, you will get overrun with the next attack. So this is why a lot of people, like I said, went away from Colossus builds. They're super easy to abuse early game. Another thing he could have done is, instead of joining up with those 3rd and 4th medevac, he could have dropped you in the main base and you would have died. Because you just don't have that many units to split with Colossus. Your army is super strong. Like I said, if a minute...
Yeah, head-to-head fight, but if he drops all over the place, you have no mobility.
Yeah, and again, if he waited a minute longer, you're gonna win. You're gonna beat his army. But this is the timing that's super tricky for Protoss to deal with. And this is only 3 racks, by the way. It's not even the 5 racks.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, let's leave the game. I'm going to host the game, and I'm going to show you the build order exactly, and I'm going to walk you through it completely, okay?
Okay.
Okay, we're back. Are you ready?
Yep.
Alright, let's get into it. So I'm going to show you the exact build. So this is what you're going to be practicing. And I'll kind of talk about the possibilities. If you have any questions, by the way, at any point, you can pause the game. I gave you a ref, and you can just kind of ask, you know, whether it's a timing or a build order thing. Just feel free to ask.
All right.
What is the advantage of this build order? Well, the advantage is you're going extremely heavy gateway style with a lot of upgrades. So if you hold your third base, you're not only ahead economically, you're also ahead in upgrades, and you can get even a 4th base and then grab all the gases and, you know, tech to Colossus or High Templars or whatever else you want. While if you go Colossus, you're kind of vulnerable to siege tank pushes. You're vulnerable to Ravens, because if he disables your Colossus and just runs you over, that's pretty much game over. When you go Colossus, you usually run off of 1 forge because you don't have enough gas to run off of double forge. So again, it's not that the Colossus is bad. Both of them have their, you know, ups and downs. It's just kind of like what you prefer playstyle wise. I personally think that the 8-gate charge lot one, if executed properly, is better. Just simply because of the upgrade timing. You're always ahead compared to Terran upgrades. Like, you have 2-2 when the Terran has 1-1. You have 3-3 when the Terran has 2-2. And it gives you a lot of kind of free time to have way better fights and engagements just because of the upgrades. Is your PC fine? Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Someone said this Dave's PC runs on cold.
Could be true.
Could be true.
Need
Okay.
more minerals for that.
Okay, so the one thing that I always try is, if you can, on whatever map you're playing, try to wall off in a way that
That'll cost more
you can block the Reaper or prevent Reapers from jumping in your main base, because it will help you in the long run. It's, from Terran point of view, it's super scary to play against Protoss and your Reaper just dies and you don't scout anything, because it can literally be anything, and you have to have different responses as a Terran against Protoss. So for example,
okay, so just wall up the ramp a little bit.
yeah, so I mean, some maps you can't do it, simply because, you know, the way the map is. I forgot to send my probe after the gate, but on most maps you can do at least some kind of wall. This one works out pretty well. This Reaper cannot jump in. It can jump up, but it can't jump all the way in, because I'm going to make a cyber core there as well.
Yeah, so it just denies scouting and stuff.
Yeah, so the only place where you have to put your stalker is here on the natural, and that's it. With 2 stalkers, he's not going to be able to pass through you, and
That'll cost
Scouting
more
denied.
minerals than we have.
okay, so with this probe, I'm going to just shift it around. You scout, make sure to know what's going on,
We don't
and you
have
send
enough
it back
minerals.
home. Start my second gas. I haven't really looked into the exact way you're doing this transition right now with the probes and gas, but again, just do what I'm doing and you'll be good to go.
That'll cost more minerals than we have.
Another thing is make sure you have a pylon to whatever base you're on. Last game you did not have a pylon on your third.
Yeah, you couldn't warp in there, and had to warp in the natural.
Yeah. So first Stalker, we're gonna chrono. Let's say there's a natural base right now on the Terran, because it is an AI. So I'm gonna send my probe
and one
home.
gas then.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
like,
one gas. Assuming, of course, this is an AI, so you know, can't expect too much from AI. And now you can send your Stalker over here, and that's it. You're good to go.
Okay, so one thing is, I don't really spend my chronos. Is that...
That'll cost
Yeah,
more
you need to
minerals.
spend your chronos. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
explain
More minerals.
how and when you do them.
We don't have
So
enough
right
minerals.
now, I always do double chrono on Nexus because you just want to get your economy up as fast
That'll
as you
cost
can.
more minerals than
And
we
it, you
have.
can see resource-wise, it works out pretty nicely.
We don't have enough.
You're producing probes, you're producing Stalker. Twilight's gonna finish. I'm gonna get my pylon on the natural. Gonna start Blink. I do 2 chrono boosts on Blink right now. First one straight away, and then next one whenever this one expires.
Okay, so only 2.
Yeah, 2 is more than enough. Gonna get some extra gates. Okay, I misplaced that gateway. I walled off my probes, which is what I told you not to do. So, oopsie. Gonna start my robo.
Words up.
Another chrono onto the Twilight. So,
Hold position.
I'm gonna pause. You need to unpause after when I ask for it.
Yeah.
So, right now, does this all look familiar to you, right? This is all you've been doing so far. Pretty much the same, right? So, from here on out, if you've denied the Reaper, that's great. Then you kind of just wait with your Stalkers for the Terran aggression that happens like 90% of the time, whether it's Hellion run by or whatever else it is. And again, if you want to be aggressive with your first Stalker, that's fine. Another reason why I like that first Stalker aggression that you did is if they go for Reactor Hellions, you're going to see it straight away. So that's going to allow you to build a pylon on the natural and try to wall off your natural base. You know, leaving the one space for your Stalker. So that's also very, very good. Or if you see like straight up Widow Mine, you can be like, okay, well, he has Marines and he has Widow Mine, so maybe Marine Widow Mine drop, maybe it's gonna be a 4 Widow Mine drop, but at least you know what you're dealing with, right? If you see Hellions, you know it's gonna be a run by or a Hellion drop. So having that kind of early game scouting with the first Stalker or 2 can give you a lot of info. You just have to kind of understand what it actually means as you're playing the game. The same thing is if you would poke with the Stalker and you see a siege tank. Well, that early of a siege tank is too fast. So it's not going to be probably a drop. It might be like a Marine siege tank Banshee push, or it might be Marine siege tank medevac push. So that's something that you should have in mind. Maybe if you see a siege tank first, instead of getting an observer, maybe get an immortal first. Just kind of like making those small adjustments as you go and kind of reading into the situations, okay?
Yeah, reacting on your...
Yeah, like small changes. Like you're not gonna go 6 gates, right? But you're just gonna, maybe you're gonna warp in a different unit based on what you saw. That's about it. Now, okay, you can unpause.
Operation commencing.
Okay, so I'm getting my robo.
I am the heart of darkness.
Getting my probes. Now I'm gonna send my probe to the third base. Get the Nexus started. Look how quick that Nexus is. 4:30.
Yeah.
Should be around the time when he drops. Now, you can actually do another chrono into Twilight. My bad. You do 3 chronos. So now warp in some Stalkers. You know, just make sure that you have actually enough units to defend. You don't want to like die to whatever is coming at you. Get an observer or 2. Again, if everything is fine, do that. Start the charge upgrade. I usually like going for 2 observers. Gives me enough kind of vision. One is with my army, one can go across the map. You can see that I'm not producing probes, by the way.
Yeah.
The reason for that is, before you start probing the third, and this is what many protosystems mess up, you need to add gateways before third. Like before third probing.
We don't have enough minerals.
So now, you're gonna constantly produce immortals,
That'll cost
and you're
more
going to
minerals.
constantly be chrono boosting your upgrades. That is what you're spending your chrono boost on. With these stalkers, you should be able to defend any kind of pressure. And now you're going to resume your probe production. As you're probing up your third, you're going to be producing immortals, like I said. And now you're going to warp 2 sentries because you want to spend the minerals on the probes and the zealots, yeah.
Work that in.
So by making sentries now, it's going to give you enough minerals to be able to maintain the probe production.
Don't work that energy.
Keep chrono boosting your stuff, get an immortal out, and now you're slowly building an army to defend. Obviously, I'm gonna pause again, because your observer is already across the map. Even, like, when the forges finish, you should already know what you're facing fully, because of that observer. Do not lose it to a missile turret or raven. Like, you can lose the game straight away, because you're not gonna know what you're facing. And based on what you're facing, you're gonna position your units differently. So if it's some kind of drop play, you need stalkers in the main base. And you need your observers that's with stalkers to not be with stalkers, but maybe a little bit further away from your base, so you can kind of see the angle of the medevac flying in, where it's going to be. If you see a siege tank push, you obviously don't need stalkers in the main, so then what you do is you're going to send your stalkers all the way across the map, and as the Terran is pushing across the map, you know, you're going to kill a marine. Yeah, you try to delay it, maybe pick off a medevac. But if you see no siege tanks and super fast 2 medevacs, don't try to do that. I tried it before. Yeah, I tried it before, and it's going to work out great 2-3 games, and then there's going to be a game where you miss 2 medevacs leaving, and your stalkers are across the map, he drops, and you lose the game. Because you just don't have anything, and you lose half of your probes, and that's it. So, again, you're going to know what you're facing. For example, right now, if I see Banshee coming out, or Cloak Banshee, whatever, obviously, cancel the Immortal, make 1 or 2 more observers, maybe add a shield batter in your main base, your natural. Again, just kind of adapting, not changing the build order. You're just adapting to what you're seeing in a very, very minimal way. So I don't want to like make a Stargate because of Banshees, but I will make maybe an extra 2-3 Stalkers. Again, add an observer or 2 extra, and just kind of be safe against that. And another thing to realize, and this is something you need to realize when you're playing the games. So let's say you see a Cloak Banshee. So many people see Cloak Banshee and they're like, oh shit, it's Cloak Banshee, I just gotta defend that. But they never think about what Terran doesn't have. So if he's going Cloak Banshee, he doesn't have Liberators. He doesn't have Medevacs. So if he's going Cloak Banshees that early, he won't be able to drop you super fast. So it's more likely to be a frontal push with Siege Tank Banshee rather than a drop. Simply because he used the starport production for the Banshees. Another thing is, if he went for Banshees, he might be going Raven follow-up. So these are all things that you should try to think about in the games, and eventually it will kind of become muscle memory. When you play, you're just gonna, you know, get it. But until then, whenever you play games, whenever you lose them, try to think about these things that I just mentioned, and you'll see kind of like a pattern eventually forming in what Terran can do and can't do. Because the one easy part about playing against Terran is they can't tech switch extremely fast like the other 2 races can, right? Protoss can warp in like 10 Zealots or 10 Sentries or 10 Stalkers. Terran can't. They're very limited as far as that goes. So you gotta try to use that to your advantage from here on out. Okay, you can unpause.
Operation commenced.
So again, let's say that he's doing some kind of tank push. I'm gonna go straight across the map. I'm still chrono boosting my my forges. I want to chrono boost from now on. Forges all the time. There we go. Terran's pushing out with 2 units. The AI.
Yeah, so if it was a big push, you would.
Yeah. So you know, you do the classic. You pick off some units. and then you go back and you keep doing that over and over. Chrono boosting forges, making immortal still.
We don't have enough
And
minerals.
if you look, I have a little bit of gas. Don't warp in sentries, don't warp in stalkers. You're gonna need it very soon for forges. Okay, so I'm almost fully saturated.
Upgrade.
See, upgrades finished. Starting the upgrades again.
Energy's too low.
Yeah. Okay.
So right now, this is, again, I'm gonna pause.
Hold position.
This is the perfect, this is done. At 7:15, let's say, you should be fully saturated on your third. From here on out, if the Terran is pushing you, you're just gonna keep warping in Zealots. You need to not lose the Stalkers. Again, I can't emphasize how important this is. If you lose the Stalkers, you're gonna have to rewarp Stalkers, which is bad, because not only they cause gas, but you need the Zealots. Like, the Zealots are what's going to defend you against Terrans in this position. So, again, I'm gonna write this because I'm gonna forget. 7:15. I am on 114 supply, fully saturated third. Okay, so my 2-2 upgrades are also started, and another thing that Protosters don't know is some of them do this really well, and then they're like, well, what do I do now? And this depends on what Terran is doing. If Terran is still all-inning on 2 base, you just keep doing the same thing. Just keep warping Zealots, keep making Immortals, and try to not get kind of bamboozled and he doom drops your base or something like that. So try to have an observer near his army, but don't make it super obvious, because the higher you go in leagues, the better they will be at spotting your observers. So be very careful about that. If they have Widow Mines, try to have an observer with your army so you can pick up. Try to use your Stalkers as effective as you possibly can, whether it's for picking up Widow Mines or Medevacs or whatever else. And just pay attention if he has a third or no. That's going to change the way you're playing quite a bit. Because if he is getting a third, then you're going to keep making units, but you're going to slowly start adding probes again to get the rest of your gases. You're going to get your 4th base soon and so on. But if he's not expanding to the third, you just keep what you're doing. Keep making units. Don't get more gases. You don't need it, because if you get more gases and you start producing probes again, you cannot warp out of the 8 gateways plus an immortal production. You're not going to have money, and then you're going to die. So your basically goal from here on out is surviving, getting to 2-2 with chrono boosts. And the moment you deflect, let's say he is going for a third right now. He just started it, right? So you're already ahead. That's how you should look at it. You have a third, it's fully saturated, you're already ahead. So if you manage to hold off his push, your next timing that you can actually do a counterattack on is the 2-2 with the War Prism. And that's what you will see a lot of in pro play as well. The Protosters are defending, and the moment they deflect that first push and they win that first battle, they instantly queue up the War Prism and they go across the map. Because they will be fighting 2-2 against 1-0 or 1-1 upgrades, which is obviously very, very good for you. And the worst thing that you can do is trade against Terran, and the best thing, you just straight up win the game because of the upgrade lead. And even if you trade against Terran, that's good for you because you're ahead on economy. So those kinds of trade... Yeah, and again, you can always run away with Stalkers. So you can charge in, trade as much as you can, and when you see the Stalkers about to start dying, blink back, do another warp in. You can always play with the War Prism, send it to the main base, warp 8 Zealots with 2-2, and then attack the third. Just do those kinds of cute maneuvers. Now, if the Terran is getting a third off of 3 racks, so he's doing a push, right? But he's not fully committed, kind of like the guy that you just showed me the replay of, right?
Yeah, he made a third and pushed.
Yeah, so in that situation, what you're gonna do is you're gonna try to defend his army, and as long as you're warping in your units, and as long as he's on your side of the map, if at any point you see you have enough units, you can just roll over his army, just go for it. Because that's going to give you the freedom to start adding more probes, start getting the extra gases, and from then on out, you have 2 options. You're either going to go Colossus, or you're going to go for High Templars. I like both. I don't think there's a better one. especially the higher you go in leagues. Um, Colossus are very mobile, so if you prefer those kinds of like Zella Colossus, Blinkstalker army, you can go Colossus. You can like add another Robo Facility, Robo Bay, and then produce 2 Colossus at the same time. Maybe go up to 4 Colossus and then transition to High Templars. Or you can do what most Protoss players do, which is just add Templar Archives and just go on from there. Again, it's up to you. Whatever you feel like is better, go for that one. And very, very quickly soon, you're going to add a 4th base as well, because you want to stay ahead in economy. Like, don't get stuck on 3 base. If the turret is on 3rd, don't be like, oh, I just need to keep making units and upgrades and that's it. Keep expanding. Don't stop with that. Don't get kind of tunnel visioned into doing one thing and that's pretty much it. Because then you're slowly becoming more and more all in. Okay. Any questions?
So you just want to stay ahead if you're ahead, and not try to like overreact on something.
Yeah. So I mean, let's say he attacked me and I deflected his first attack. I didn't kill everything, but I deflected it enough for him to go back. I don't need to make a prism and then all in off of it. I can make a war prism. I will go across the map, but I'm going to make a 4th base meanwhile. So
yeah, you try to poke and you try to make more
yeah, if there's nothing in the main base and my war prism's there, I'm going to warp 8 zealots, right? That's going to be my trade. I'm going to trade 8 zealots for whatever SCVs I can get, and I'm going to poke the 3rd. But if you don't make a 4th base, you're slowly turning yourself and your attack into an all-in. Because he will be going for Liberators, he will be going for Ghosts, and if you don't keep up with the economy at that point, or stay ahead, you will die to higher tech units, because you have to remember you're only on 3 gases. So your army is literally going to be mass zealots with some immortals and stalkers for a while until you can transition out of it. Now, you can unpause, and I'm going to show you quickly how the transition looks like to
Operation commenced.
to just normal gameplay, I guess, after this.
We don't have enough minerals.
So let's say we fight here soon, whatever.
I return to serve.
Let's say I defend, queue up a war prism, keep chrono boosting upgrades. You can see my chrono is completely depleted. Look at that SCV. Scouting. So keep chrono boosting on the upgrades. It's very, very, very important. I'm gonna get the 4th. Put down the gases. And again, War Prism is coming. You know, you're being aggressive on this side. At this point, he should be pretty scared. One thing to note, make sure you see how many and where the medevacs are. Like, don't push across the map and then suddenly medevacs are in your base. That's going to be very, very bad for you. So that's one thing that you should try and keep track of. So you can see my gas income is suddenly going to spike up pretty well. Adding more and more things. You can resume your immortal production very soon. Again, the prism in the main.
Yeah, if there are no units, you can just kill this.
Yeah, you just go like that, and let's say his 3rd is all the way here. It's gonna take so long for him to get there, and you can pounce on like whatever he has here. Try again to trade as much as you can. Back at home, my Twilight is almost done. I'm gonna start Storm. And this is your transition back at home. Getting the Storm. I'm gonna get 3-3. I'm on 72 probes.
What's the ideal probe count for...
I'd say 70 is fine. Like, you don't want to go over 75, I would say. But yeah.
Okay. And what I see most pro players do is just A move, and then they lose a lot of zealots to like a couple widow mines. Is there like anything you can like do instead of A move? Just like if you can like dodge the widow mines.
I'm gonna show you that in a custom map. But that's a good question. I'm gonna show that very quickly.
Like I see like a lot of pro players just aim up and then they lose all their zealots to like.
Yeah, because they never micro in their life. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's why they make Zealot.
Yeah, that's why I don't like this playstyle. Like, there's literally nothing you can do except like later when you get Storm and stuff.
Yeah, but like look at this army, right? 10 minutes,
it's-
I am, or 9 and something, 9:30-ish, I was
Wow.
almost maxed out. 3-3 is almost done, Storm's ready. And right now you can get a 5th if you want. Like look how many minerals I'm getting a second. It's cray-cray.
Yeah, you
Cray-cray.
can like even tech into carrier or stuff.
Yeah, like right now you can transition to Tempest, you can transition to another Robo, whatever you want. For example, on this map, I like the Colossus tech because it's so open. And that's where Colossus shines. When you play against Liberators and you have a lot of space to move around, this is very, very good map for the Colossus. Now, that's pretty much the build order and the playstyle. Now let's answer your question for the thing that you just asked. Let's jump in here. And then we're gonna do this, and then we're gonna jump into the same replay you showed me earlier. And we're gonna compare the supply, the upgrades, and the third base iteration at the same time that you were in the game, and then with this build, just so you can see the difference yourself. Okay, so this map is the unit tester online for you guys watching. I don't know if you know what it is. It's basically you can produce any units you like and kind of test things out. Okay, let me give Peros charge. And then okay, so you're controlling the right side, right? Okay, so burrow the Widow Mine somewhere in front.
Like this.
Yeah, so let's say put your bio like around here. I'm gonna attack you and you can start kiting. And then pay attention to how my zealots are moving. I might fail, but I'll get to the point. Okay.
So like this. Yeah, so they do a lot of friendly damage as well.
Yeah, but you wanna, the moment your first 3, I don't know if you saw that, but the moment your first 3 charge lots start going in, pull the other ones back. Again.
Yeah, so they all trigger on that one.
Yeah, so basically, okay, let's do it again. So you minimize the damage quite a bit.
Yeah, okay.
And again, this is one of those things that sometimes you will mess up. But if you, let's do another one. I'm not gonna micro at all. Sometimes you will mess up. You know, it's not going to be perfect 1 zealot for each mine, but it's about minimizing the damage that you take. So if you go like this, look at that.
Yeah, that's a lot of space there.
Yeah, and your army is way smaller, by the way. Like, I didn't even
Yeah.
give you stim or shields, I forgot. So, the difference is quite big. Let me give you a couple more units. There we go. So again, I'm gonna just A-move. And a good Terran player will also drag you through the Widow Mine. So they're gonna go in front a little bit, yeah?
Oh,
And then
okay.
they're gonna kite. So again, A-moving. Look at that. And then again with the micro. Wow, the kiting. This time I didn't kill any medevacs.
Yeah,
Okay.
they really hit everything.
Yeah. So. Okay, I'm going for it. Oh, I did not split. Oh, I did split. Never mind. But yeah, like I said, it's about minimizing the damage. It's not going to work perfectly every single time, but that's what you gotta try and do.
Yeah, okay.
Because the perfect situation that you want to have basically is burn the widow mines. So put one marine and move everything else back. So the perfect situation you want to have is like zealots charging and then widow mines triggering like that. Obviously that's not possible, but
Yeah, you want to try something like that.
yeah, because if you just A move, they're gonna stack up like this right now, and then you're gonna get absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, the splash damage is
Yeah.
insane.
And now obviously this, when you have like even more units, let's say have 10 more zealots, and you have 2 more mines. This becomes worse and worse the more widow mines and zealots there are. Like look at this.
Insane.
The perfect world is for you as a Protoss to manage to drag your zealots into the Terran army.
The Terran army and then they splash damage thrown in.
Yeah. Wow, I failed there. Still better now. Okay, last one. I'm practicing my own micro over here. Oh, that last widow mine. Oh, that last widow mine scumbag. Repairing. Okay. Now let's leave. So again, it's pretty much like marine splitting in a way against banelings. Again, something to practice, work on it. The way I do it, by the way, is again you can rewatch the VOD or the YouTube video that I'll upload. The way you want to do it is you will always see which first couple of zealots are going in, and then you just try to select the previous ones and like pull half of the group upward, pull half the group downward. So that way, when the widow mines go off, they don't manage to damage them. Another thing you can
have a concave.
Yeah, concave is always better than obviously just straight up doing the A move. Because then, if you have a concave, even if you don't pre-split your zealots as you're rushing in, you will have much better outcome because your zealots simply won't be grouped up. Yeah. Now, if you see that the Terran, because sometimes you will harass them in their main base with zealots and prism, and if you see that the Terran is not paying attention to their army and his army is behind the widow mines, just send one zealot and just activate the widow mine one at a time, or just send kind of couple of zealots at the same time. Same thing you see in TVZ where Zergs send like 5-6 Lings and then 5-6 Banes into the widow mines just to activate them.
Yeah, they try to detonate everything.
Yeah. Okay, host a replay from earlier. Let's quickly go through that one, and this is going to be it for today. Omna Dren asks, in a fight like this, should toss focus Medivacs with Stalkers? Yes. Almost always you want to focus the Medivacs with Stalkers. Especially if you have like 8, because then you one-shot the Medivacs. Not only you're going to eliminate the healing from Terran, but you're also basically forcing Terrans to remake the Medivacs and not go Liberators. And again, this is one of those things that people don't think about. So if the Terran has 6 Medivacs, they want to transition into Liberators, right? Eventually. But if you kill those 6 Medivacs, the Terran has to go for Medivacs again, because you can't play without any Medivacs. That doesn't make sense. Pass me over the lead. Please.
There you go.
Thank you. So yeah, always try to kill the Medivacs, by the way. Do you put your Stalkers in a separate group?
Sometimes, but not always.
Okay, you should. Where do you put your army? On number 1?
Yeah, 1.
Okay, on number 2 you need to put your Stalkers.
Okay.
Where do you put your High Templars?
Normally on 2 or 3. 2
Okay.
or 3.
Okay, well then put whatever. Put Stalkers on 2 or 3 and then put High Templars or whatever you're not putting the Stalkers on. The reason for that is when you're having engagements versus Liberators, you need to do the A move, Guardian Shield, and then you need to specifically select Stalkers, blink kind of on the outside of the... how to explain? Oh, like at the edge of the...
I understand.
Yeah. And that way you can stutter step with your Stalkers. But if they're bound to your army, you might be mispulling your units and kind of messing them up.
Yeah, you want them to shoot at the medivac, but not get damaged. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Instead of still need to tank.
Yeah,
shots.
you want to stay behind like the Zealots or stay away from the Terran Baya with Stalkers. And pick up as many things as you can. Okay, so again, to repeat, I wrote it down. At 7:15 in the game I showed you earlier, I was fully saturated on 3 base. I was on 114 supply. And my 2-2 was, I think, like 20% done. So we're just going to compare it. And again, that's the difference in build orders.
The build I'm doing is like a late mid game kind of thing, but you also need like your build order thing with the Zealots. It's like the early mid game.
Well, okay, so don't look at the build that I just showed you. Don't look at it as like, oh, that's a Zealot Stalker playstyle. No, you're only doing Zealot Stalker in order to defend. Your playstyle is whatever you want it to be after. You can go Colossus, you can do High Templars, but that is just to hold off a push. Like, literally, pretty much, that's why you go for that. And to be able to get ahead on the upgrades. Okay, so this is exactly, it's 7:14. Let's get it to 7:15. So you are 8 probes away from saturating the third. So right now I was on what, 60 probes compared to Terran's 50, which is a good position for you, and I was on 114 supply, which is the same supply as Terran.
Yeah.
Now
That's a lot of supply.
yeah.
Difference.
Now the difference is I had 1-1 at this point, and Terran also only has 1-0, and obviously I had charge and blink, and I had, I think, I can't remember, 3 or 4 immortals. So with the immortals, if you play against siege things, you literally just click them twice and they're gonna pop. Another thing that you can do, because you're playing this heavy chargeless style, you need to work a little bit on your target firing. I'm not saying yours is bad, but this specific playstyle allows you to do target firing a lot more. So whether it's with Blink Stalkers or with Immortals, you can shift key onto the Marauders. And that's something that high level Protoss players do all the time. They take the Immortals.
Because
the
Immortal only does 20 against a Marine and 50 against Marauder.
Yeah, so you're going to get way more DPS done. Like, you would rather have your Zealots run into Marines and then Immortals kill the Marauders than just shooting at whatever. So, yeah. Again, this is going to be the first lesson. We're going to do the second one in, like I said, in 3 to 5 days. We'll see. So what I want you to do is work on these things that I've just talked about. Try to think a little bit about scouting, how to go about it. Try to think like, okay, I see a Banshee, I see a Medevac, I see a Hellion. What can this be? Always ask yourself, what can opponent do from here on out? Like, what kind of harassment can he do? From here on out, what kind of unit comp is he going for? And yeah, practice the build order. Get a couple of guys from Discord to practice with you, the master boys, to help you practice the build. Ask them to do some 2 base pushes, 2 base all-ins, until you get some good practice against it. And if you have any replays for TVP specifically, that you did this build that I just showed you, and you felt you played it really well, but you still lost, save those replays, okay?
Yeah, okay.
Don't save a replay if you like misclicked and you blinked into 5 Wood Mines, but if you thought, okay, I played really well, but I still lost, save those.
Yeah, okay.
Again, the Stalker aggression that you're doing, like with the first Stalker and with these Stalkers delaying the push, keep doing that, that's great. And I think that's pretty much it. Any last questions?
Not really. So, for the next one, we'll practice the build order with the zealots, or just work on the scouting and reacting to opponents.
Yeah, that is what you wanna be working on, and then, I mean, just PvT, because that's the only thing we've covered.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, cool.
All right.
If you enjoyed this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and make sure to check out one of my previous videos. As always, I want to thank you guys for watching. Have a very nice day, and I'll see you guys next time.